Welcome to Basic Ideas of Science of Mind Class 7, 2017 at Center for Spiritual Living Asheville. All of you who are emailing me on the web, I'm so glad you're part of this class. We always begin with spiritual mind treatment, so take a deep breath. And whatever you may have dragged in with you, let it go. Breathe again. Stay centered and focused in this now moment, open and receptive to all of the good that there is. And what we know is that there is a presence and a power of light and love and life that is all things, created all things, manifests as all things. That means that each of us is made out of divine substance. We are spiritual beings, we are God beings. All that God is, we are. And so we claim right here and right now our divine birthright of health and prosperity, success, joy, love, happiness. All of the wonderful experiences of this life are ours now. We choose wisely the thoughts and the beliefs and the words that we say and create lives that reflect that truth of who we are. We focus on the good, we focus on the positive, we focus on the love, and we focus on the light. And we watch that manifest in our lives right here and right now. And with great gratitude for yet another opportunity to gather at Center for Spiritual Living Asheville and to be reminded of the higher truths that we all know. I simply release this treatment into all that God is, knowing that God is all, as together we say, and so it is. Wonderful, wonderful. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Barbara. Hi,
So
everybody.
we have two new people in the class. We have Catherine, welcome, welcome, welcome. And Jennifer, welcome, welcome, welcome. Catherine, you've been to a Sunday celebration. One. And Jennifer's the first time she ever walked in the building. Way to be. This is an 8-week class on Ernest Holmes' Basic Ideas of Science of Mind. We are in our 7th week. However, this is a very basic class, and if you have any questions, anybody, please feel free to ask them. And we don't want to gloss over anything that's really important, so speak up and make sure that everybody's on the same path once again. Again, I have news that yesterday Dorothy Leahy transitioned. And we did a big blessing on her yesterday during the celebration and wrapped her in light and love. John and I had seen her Saturday afternoon and just blessed her and let her know it was okay to go, and that all was well, that the only place you can go into is more light and more love, and that's all that there is. So you're just going from one way of experiencing that to another. And it's fascinating because just 2 weeks before that, we did the exact same thing with Jenny Summers and loved her and had her in the light and gratitude, and she too passed that same day. So I think it's a good way to go. To have a couple of hundred people really focusing on you and loving you and lifting you and opening up the door so that you can let go and go. We don't do that lightly. We don't just do it to anybody. We do it to people who have agreed to that at some level and also that we know are leaving. It's not like we would take someone who was in the hospital for something and say, well, let's just send them on down the road. That's not the way that it is, but once someone truly is leaving and it's very obvious that they're leaving, let's let them leave in love and joy. So Dorothy's memorial service will be 2 weeks from yesterday. So this just is a very odd time for us. This coming Sunday is Jenny Summers' memorial service, and then the very next Sunday is Dorothy Leahy's memorial service. And gosh, Dorothy was here almost at the beginning, and she and Francis had a big, big impact on our community. And you can almost feel them in the walls. So.
Do they have any children?
Mm-hmm. Oh, many. They have lots of kids. I think Dorothy came to the marriage with 4, and then they had kids on top of that. Francis was in the Navy, and so he would be gone for long periods of time, and then he would come home, and she was arguing with him on Saturday, and she passed on Sunday. She was probably arguing with him on Sunday. So,
David Phillips.
Yeah.
It's their son.
Yeah.
That's a member of this.
right, and their grandchildren were raised here. They're all grown now, but, you know, they were permeating, penetrating, and filling the interspaces of the city. So I want to do a quick review because Catherine's here and Jennifer's here, and just kind of bring us up to where we're all here together. I love this book, and I love the basic ideas of Science of Mind, because I think sometimes we forget, and sometimes we are looking to be so spiritual and so holy that we forget that we are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law, that there is nothing outside of us, there is only the reflection of our consciousness in and as every person and every event in our lives. And especially in these times of political information and global information, sometimes under the guise of spirituality we can be self-righteous and use that as an excuse to move into judgment, and that is a dangerous place to be, because as soon as we move into judgment of any kind, we have separated ourselves from our connection with spirit. We have looked at something in our lives and called it bad and wrong and stupid and whatever other descriptive adjectives we want to use, and that manifests. And so we begin to feel cut off, we begin to feel angry, we begin to feel frustrated, things don't fall into place the way they were. And it's really important for us to develop the self-awareness, to get a hold of ourselves and say, wait a minute, what cause am I setting in motion that is creating this effect? And we would like to do that sooner rather than later. People often come to me fresh from the doctor and say, how did I get this? Or they come to me in tears and say, someone just left me, or I just got fired, or something, equally undesirable happened. And then we can go backwards and say, well, at what point did you desert the truth? At what point did you decide that spirit is not all that there is, and that you are not a powerful, creative, spiritual being, but that you're a victim at the effect of this or that, or this or that, and then you created that in your world. So then we go back and we rethink the situation. Sometimes when we come into the teaching, we get paranoid about our thoughts, because we learn that our thoughts are creative, and so if we think something that's not going to be a happy experience manifest, then we can get worried about it, but you can rethink anything you want. If you thought it into form, you can think something else into form. So it's not the very first thought that's important, I believe it's the second thought. And then if you have the same second thought as the first thought, and the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, a million, then you're manifesting that. But if you have a thought and go, wait a minute, I don't want to demonstrate that, I don't want to live in a world of separation and fear and upset and judgment, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to pull myself back and rethink this. This is a spiritual universe. The only thing that's going on is spirit. Everything is made out of spirit. Everything is spirit, including me. If I am the wave created out of the ocean, I have within me whatever the ocean is. So if I am created out of spirit, I have within me whatever spirit is. I am creative, I am love, I am light, I am prosperity, I am health, I am wholeness, I am joy. And you start working on that, and then all of a sudden, those things, or maybe not all of a sudden, maybe it takes a little time, but things that were starting to manifest as you had the contract all set and somebody called and said, well, I don't know, or things seem to be going great in this direction and then some wrench fell into it, those things start coming back into alignment. Now they may not work out exactly like you wanted. That may not be your perfect and right contract, but you'll have a contract that is. this direction that you were going, you may not end up going there, but wherever you go will be in alignment with, all is well. I'm completely supported by life. Health and wholeness are my very nature. Prosperity, love, and joy is the essence of life, and I am in alignment with that, and I am manifesting that right now. So I don't want us to get into micromanaging the details of our lives. A lot of people use this teaching to do that, and I find it's a shallow use of the creative process of the infinite to say, and I want that light to turn green before I have to lift up my foot and put on the brake. Why not just know that we're always in our perfect and right place, doing exactly what we need to do, that the entire universe supports us in wherever we are, and all is well. And then if you stop, the stopping was in alignment with that. So we don't want to get too caught up in the details. We want to get fully invested in the direction of our lives. And then we talked about hidden beliefs. We spent a couple of weeks on hidden beliefs, looking at reoccurring patterns of our life, looking at how maybe we've been in a relationship with a relationship with the same person over and over and over again. We just traded out bodies and names and personalities, but really we had the same experience, and how reoccurring activities in our life mean that we have a reoccurring belief or thought. Some of those are unconscious, or what we call hidden. So we dug around and poked and prodded for a couple of weeks to look at where we might have some belief in limitation, some belief in powerlessness, some belief in lack or genetic predisposition or whatever it might have been. And we dug up a lot of good stuff, and we looked at how to flip those into affirmations that were personal, positive, precise, powerful, and present. So we had those ideas. I am safe. Positive, present, personal, powerful, and precise. All is well. I prosper abundantly from every direction in my life. Whatever that is, I am good enough. I am deeply loved. I am precious. Those kinds of affirmations that then we reprogrammed ourselves. And we talked about how the neurotransmitters in our brain, the synapses are actually tendrils of brain tissue, and if they fire together, they wire together and they grow together, so it's easier to think the same thought over and over and over again, and how important it is to become mindful and develop an awareness when we think that thought so we can stop it and think another thought. And then we actually rewire our brains to think something that we want to have manifest instead of something that we don't want to have manifest. And that took us up to last week, where we have been very diligently thinking what we want to experience and giving ourselves freedom to have that thought shift if we want it to shift, if it's not quite right. Once you do it a couple of hundred times in a day and you go, that just doesn't quite feel right, I want to tweak it a little bit. Then we allow it to tweak, and we have ourselves set the direction for the course of our lives consciously to where we want to go. And we set off on our journey, instead of going unconscious and just going round in circles, because that's what we've done up until now. So, does anybody have anything else to add to that? Because I think that was a really good right off the top of my head mirror of what we've done in the last 6 years. Susan.
Your memory is just so great. Just a comment on everything we're doing. Just a little tiny story. I'm walking around with a check for over 2 weeks that somebody gave me. And I just had a feeling about this check. Not really a doubt, but I don't know, I didn't cash the check. And I made a choice to go to this person's bank in Black Mountain today. Okay, it's beautiful, leaves are changing, I'll go take a ride. And I went there and they verified that this check is fine. And I was heading back to Asheville to my bank when this person called me and said, by the way, did you cash that check yet? And I said, well, I'm on my way at this very moment to cash the check. And she said, don't. My account was hacked, compromised, something. She said, if it's not an inconvenience, could you hold it for a few days and I'll give you cash? And it was just,
It's
not a
intuition.
worry, it wasn't a worry, it was, I don't know, just wait. And it wasn't last week, it wasn't tomorrow, it was today, on the way to the bank, and she called me.
It's intuition.
Ah,
Yes,
and it's more communicating with me better, or I'm paying more attention to it.
that's what intuition is, communicating with yourself better.
Yes.
Intuition is not some outside power saying, hey Susan, don't do that. It's being aware of that which you already know. If you are one with all things, we say there's only one mind, that mind is God's mind, that mind is my mind now. If we are connected with all of the information ever, then we know that that check is not quite right to go in our bank. And so you just act on that by not depositing it, by letting it sit there.
Yes.
And by being okay with it. You didn't have any judgment, you didn't have any
No.
fear, you didn't have any upset.
No,
That's
no,
always a clue.
no. Every couple of days I thought, well, maybe, let's see what my schedule is like. Maybe I'll take a ride, or maybe I will cash it, or maybe I'll go to Black Mountain. But it was never such a priority. But today I woke up and said, I think I'm going to go and see about that check. I did not want to just deposit it or cash it at my bank. There was something that said, nah, don't do that.
Right, and for some reason, having it act out this way was more harmonious for the person that gave you the money.
Yeah.
And if you have harmony in your business dealings, in your relationships, then you're going to get a greater awareness than what most people think. You get the money, you put it in the bank, come on, let's go, this is business, come on. No, there's a greater reality going on, and we are open to that greater reality, and when we allow ourselves to be guided by that, not that there's an outside force guiding us, but that we are open to that which we already know, then things work out better.
Yeah, and I'm honoring that within me that's going on more than outside opinions.
Right, right. What others think of you is none of your business.
Exactly.
Right. So there's a part in the chapter tonight about being a clear channel. When you're free from the negation of emotional conflict. Wow. When you're free from the negation of emotional conflict, you become a clear channel. And in our native teachings, it was to become a hollow bone through which spirit can play music into the world. So there's that thing about opening up and allowing that which you are to move through you, but you can't do that if you have negative emotional conflict. Right?
It just wasn't there.
Wonderful, wonderful.
In the past, I may have gone into a whole personality thing where I doubted the person or questioned. None of that was there.
And what happens is we need to make a story to justify doing what we're feeling is right to do because it doesn't make any sense. Rather than trusting ourselves, we've got to create a story. People do that here. People, for whatever reason, choose to leave. And how someone leaves always says volumes about who they are. If they have to have a problem and make John or me or the center or somebody wrong or bad so that they are justified in their leaving, then that's different from someone who comes in and says, you know, this just isn't for me. I want more Jesus. You guys are too happy for me. I'm just not comfortable here. Too many people want to hug me. You know, we do continue to teach people, to read people. If they go like this, don't go like this. Or whatever reason that people choose to leave. So if someone just up front says, you know, I just don't want to be here anymore. I know I'm a member and I've been here for a year or two, but this just isn't the right fit for me. I really honor that and I acknowledge them for doing that in a clear way, instead of having to have a reason to justify perceived judgments on the outside of what they're doing. What other people think about you is none of your business. If you want to come, great. If you want to go, great. You are the one who gets to decide what you do. And you don't have to justify that or rationalize it to anyone, because if you do, that means you are not trusting yourself. And trusting yourself is one of the best things that you can learn to do, to just trust yourself. And I say that to people, you know, yeah, you're coming to me about this breakup, but really, you didn't see this coming? What were you thinking when you picked that person? Out of all the people on the planet, what were you thinking when you picked that person? And they'll always fess up. I was afraid, I was looking for someone who would take care of me, I just didn't think that I could be on my own, I picked them because they're just like the last 7 people I've been with, so let's not, you know, let's cease all of the weeping and gnashing of teeth here. You did this, it was an inevitable breakup because you have grown, and so take a deep breath, dust yourself off, and put your life back together again. Jane.
Well, when I first came here in 2007, right after my husband died, everybody was so happy. And really, I thought, what is wrong with this? You know, it's just, you know.
What are you smoking, huh?
Just, and I thought, well, maybe it's just a lot of fake or something. But it's taken me all this time to realize that this is possible for just about anybody.
And you are a poster child. Because it's a big deal to stay in an environment that you're not comfortable in, but that you know is going to be good for you. It's like going back to the gym.
Yeah, it's
You know it's good for you, and you're going to do it even though you don't want to. So you stayed, and it took 7 years for you to finally get that you're safe, that you're lovable, that everything is okay, and that you get to be happy.
yeah.
That's great. What else would you have done with 7 years?
Who knows? God, I hate to think. Well, anyway.
So we're talking about spiritual growth, and Ernest says that there is something within us all that constantly pushes us forward, which demands continued progress. There's something within us all that pushes us forward, not in a type A personality, neurotic way, but there's something that always calls us to open up more, to choose love more, to grow more, to let go of the things that no longer serve us, to let other people off the hook, to look for the good. And I really want to just ask you if you are conscious of that within yourselves.
Yes.
When did you first notice it?
Oh, God, a long time ago. Yeah, a long time ago. I don't even know if I could put a date on it.
Margaret.
I noticed it, especially since I've been here, because when I first came here, also after my husband died, I was very depressed
Yeah, me too.
and sad. And I am not a sad, depressed person. I'm usually very happy, very perky. So it was one of my goals was to replace my sorrow with joy. And I would do the affirmations and treatments, and little by little, I recognized that I was expanding my acceptance of joy, of being a happy person. And I expect to continue it. I mean, I don't know how happy you can be. I'm pretty happy now. Fabulous life. But I expect it to continue more and more and more. More fun, more joy, more happiness. Yeah.
Good, good, good. Who else? This is an important thing to anchor in personally.
Can you state your, can you
I
phrase your statement?
remember as a child knowing that there was something more and being driven to find it. I thought it was money, I thought it was drugs, I thought it was my first husband and then my second husband, you know, but I always knew there was a greater experience of living. When I was a little kid, I would hyperventilate and hold my breath so that I would pass out, so that I would have that feeling when you come back, that kind of floaty feeling. It's oxygen deprivation. My neuroses are all out here for everyone to see. But there was something that was transcendent about coming back. And I craved that feeling. I didn't know what it was, I didn't know where to find it, but I knew that there was more than just what I saw. There was more than this life and this world that I was privy to. And it was instinctual and it was compelling to me to try to find what that was. And it took me not that long. I walked into my first Science of Mind Center, I was 24 years old, and I got it just like that. This is it. This is it. I am in charge of my world. The only God that exists is the God of my understanding, and it is total love and support for me. I can have my life be whatever way I want as long as I'm willing to change my consciousness, the way I experience life, the way I experience myself. I am in. I was all in, and then it's taken 40 years to bring that about into form, which is time well spent, you know? I can't imagine what would have happened if I hadn't found this. So I'm just asking you to kind of tune into that part of you that pushes you, but not in a neurotic way. You know, when there's something better to do than coming to class, no. You know, when you think there's might be something that you would rather do than coming to class or reading or meditating or doing your spiritual practice, and that part of you that says, no, we really want to do this. So that's what I want you to think about. Do you have your hand up, Jane? You gotta wave at me. Jane and then Judith.
When I first came and everybody was so happy and I thought everybody was kind of crazy, I hung around because I was curious. I thought, well, maybe this will wear off and everyone will sober up.
No, we're high as a kite.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, it was my curiosity that made me sort of stay and just wait for everybody to come back down to earth, but nobody did.
You just came back with everybody else.
Yeah.
So you see it as curiosity for something that you would like to have.
Yeah, I
Good.
was kind of curious as to how everybody could be so happy all the time.
Right.
It's amazing.
Thank you. Judith.
I know for me, I've been totally seeking my whole life, and I never felt like I fit in anywhere. And when I ended up here, I fought it for a good year, coming here. When Deb and Mary brought me here, and I fought it for a good year. And it wasn't until last February when I really reached the depths of my despair, when I was in the hospital for a week for depression. And I was really close to checking out. And I got out and I realized, I had an epiphany that I was creating my own journey. And I was the one that was in charge. And when I started tithing, like I had no money. I would like literally have $0 for weeks. When I started saying, okay, I'm gonna tithe, and I started tithing, everything changed. I was getting these big fat checks in the mail. I got a photography show. I'm happy again. I feel good, and I'm not depressed. And I have purpose now. And it was all because I was creating that despair, and I was not recognizing myself in God form, and now I do. And
Right. Excellent, excellent. So when you don't tithe, people will, well, tithing doesn't make you happy. When you don't tithe, what you're doing is you're holding on to feelings of lack and limitation.
Exactly.
Tithing is a spiritual principle. If you give it out there, you're going to get back. We are in an expanding universe, and you will get back more than you give. So when you don't do that, when people get mad at me and say, all you ever do is talk about money, you just want my money, get away from me, I'm gonna keep my money. That's fine, but what you're holding on to is not your money. You're holding on to your fear, your lack, your limitation, because you and I had many conversations
Many conversations
about
about
money. I
that.
said, I don't have anything other than this. This is what I know, this is what I believe, this is what I practice, and it works.
I just had to trust.
Right.
And you said that, you said you just have to have faith,
And if you give it out there, the universe will give it back
because,
and give you back more.
because you gotta empty out the bad stuff to let the good stuff in.
You have to let go of your fear.
Yeah,
To let your
that's what
trust
I
and
mean.
faith in.
Yeah, that's what I
You've
mean.
gotta let go of your misery to let your happiness come
Exactly.
in. Wonderful, so it was Linda and Sandy and then Breezy.
Can I say this as a learning experience for myself, if not everybody else?
Please own it to yourself. Thank you.
Okay, Judith is going to be a counselor. She's on her way. Are not our experiences, as in her bad experience she just shared with us, a way of remembering how bad it can get, so that when she gets the counseling, she will have much more empathy with the people she's working with?
Anyone who is a good counselor cannot go with someone else where they have not already gone.
Okay.
So I wouldn't call it bad, but you're right, it's a learning experience.
Mhm.
For all of us, it's a learning experience. I was on welfare, I was on food stamps, I was giving plasma twice a week for a year
I was doing
to
that.
feed my 3- and 4-year-old child. That was my path. You know, and I admire my moxie, and I admire the way I got out of that and created an amazing life. So yes, Judith is going to have that, but more than her ability to use it as a counselor, she's transformed her life. And just by transforming your life lifts other people up. They may come to you and say, talk to me about this, but just your very essence, the light of your being, enlightens others around you, it lifts them up. See, Sandy.
I think I've been here, haven't we been going here like 7 years, something like that? Okay, well, Cheryl and Ellen brought us the first time. And I checked it out, I was like, oh, this is wild, what is this? I referred to you as Mother Nature at first because of the, you know, and it was, I have gone through so many different religious things with the robes and the sleeves, you know, it's cool. I have actually collected religions. I was a Methodist, I was a Baptist, I was a Presbyterian, I was a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh my
I had always been searching, and it only took me 2 months when I got here. I'm like, this is the only thing that has ever made sense to me. And I was so glad that I didn't have to get baptized a third time. So,
Good, so you were searching, and you searched in different religions.
many.
You know, those of us who practice the fine art of addiction, were we not searching?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were searching, and in the beginning, it was like, oh, this is it. This is the high that I've always known to be, except it doesn't last, it doesn't work. If it did, we would have workshops on the fine art of drugs and alcohol and all of that stuff. The only true joy and happiness that you can find is inside of yourself. But we were searching. We were looking for something. We knew intuitively that there was something that was available to us that we didn't have, and we wanted it. And what Ernest says is that this pushes us. It compels us. I couldn't have stopped looking for anything. I mean, I just spent my life looking, just, are you it? Are you it? Is this it?
Exhausting.
Is it out here? Where is it?
Yeah,
What
it's
can I do?
exhausting.
So that I can find it, and then when we find it, we realize it's always been inside of us. And that when we stop looking on the outside and look on the inside, we find amazing love and light and joy and peace, power. We find all of that inside of us when we stop looking on the outside and go within, and that requires discipline. Breezy.
When I was a kid, I was raised Unitarian, so we didn't really study the religion stuff. And the only thing, the only time I got exposed to it was in school and the other kids and stuff like that. And to me, it came across as so hateful, I wouldn't want to have anything to do with it. And, because in our Sunday school, we did science class. We didn't have the Bible and stuff. And in high school, you went to, visited all, oh, well, I just meant as the religion. We went to different churches, temples, synagogues to check them out and find out what they believe so you could make a decision. I
What a
could
wonderful
make a
experience.
decision of, you know, an informed decision. And to me, none of it made sense. The closest I ever came was the nature religions,
Mhm.
the pagan, the Native
Mhm.
American, all that sort of
Mhm.
stuff, the people I studied with there. This is the closest that I found to what I believed all my life. It's not anything new to me, it's what I've always believed. And so, but this is the only place that was organized type of, thing.
So this is a place where you could go and be the way you wanted to be and find like-minded people.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Those are, and do you still feel that, that desire to grow and expand? Do you do spiritual practice every day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Why do we do spiritual practice? When it's, 7 o'clock in the morning and we need to get going, why do we stop everything and sit down and start to breathe? Why do we do that?
Because it sets the tone for the day for me. It's a good reminder of all the good things that are available to us if we call on them, and so I call on them daily.
So it brings us back to center, where we can remember who we are and that we are supported by the universe, that there's all of this that we can rely on during the day. Excellent. Becca and then Susan.
I refer to it as touching base.
Mhm.
It's touching my base. I touch base and now I can move on.
Wonderful, wonderful. Was that Susan or Tom?
I did not have my hand up.
Tom.
Oh, I was saying, besides centering, I mean, then you can imagine a good future, prepave, positive outcomes.
Margaret and then Sandy.
I use it as to set up my day. I find if I don't do it intentionally, then I'll just have an average day. But if I want to have more than an average day, it needs to have some focus in the morning early to set the tone, set the intention, set the vibration, expectation, and knowing that I can have a wonderful day today. Today's the best day ever.
Great,
Yeah.
great. Sandy?
I've just found that it works, and something that works so well, why would I not? I mean, it's like I can't, it's like I have to, I need to, I want to.
Good. That need and that wanting is what I want to look at. So how would you describe that compulsion for spiritual growth in your life now? Troy?
I've been through the learning who I am, and this, I guess at this point in my life, the next question is, fine, what do I do with it?
Right, right. I find these times of politics to be really interesting in allowing us to look deep within ourselves and see what do we want to bring to the world. And you can bring it with a vote, but you can also bring it driving down the road, shopping at the store, walking in the woods. You can bring that which you want to bring to the world in every moment. But you don't know what that might be unless you think about it. Why is it that someone will choose to forgive someone instead of go off on someone over a parking space or a nick in their car or whatever it might be? Why is it that as spiritual beings on a spiritual path, we hold ourselves to a higher standard, I think? Linda?
When I get ticked off, it always hurts me more than whatever, because they don't know what I'm thinking about them taking the parking space. So I've got this upset stomach, or I'm shaken for nothing.
Right. So you do it so that you can have more peace in your world. Breezy?
Well, what's the point of getting upset with it? Because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't accomplish anything. Besides, it really doesn't accomplish anything being angry.
Do you know that that's a really unusual thought in the world right now? So most people think that getting upset does something, that getting upset and then actually hurting someone does something, it gives them something. Self-righteousness, I'm gonna get back what you took from me, that kind of mindset. But when we move into a greater reality that says, this isn't gonna hurt anybody but myself, and I am better off not to go there, then I think that we've grown spiritually. Terry?
I found that previously, I had always been very judgmental about people, be it their beliefs, their politics, whatever. And I don't like the way it makes me feel.
Right.
I really don't. I would much prefer to be able to say, I accept what you believe. I see God in your eyes. And that makes me feel much better inside. You know, I don't like the turmoil.
So spiritual growth can be a very, not in a bad word, but a very selfish experience in that we get to stay in joy and in peace and in love. And I believe that that sprinkles it out into the world and invites other people to rise up to that level, just as much as getting in someone's face and raising your fist at them is going to trigger off negative experiences in them. Smiling at someone, saying it's okay, sending them some love. Remember the love balls that you can throw at someone and just watch it affect them. That if we do that, it shifts their energy. But I don't think that we do it to change them, because then there's some manipulation in there. You can always invite people to come into love, but we do it to shift our own energy so that what we're putting out there is a better caliber and quality of energy.
I just came back from a trip, three sisters, there three of us sisters went out to Oregon to visit another sister that we had not seen for about 15 years. And I have a younger sister, Kathy, who I became kind of snarky with, you know, as we were, and we decided that all of us are alpha people rather than and we all wanted to be in charge. And that was something that was a big thing for me, to be able to see the fact of how I was treating Kathy, and not doing it on purpose, but I was being judgmental.
It was an unconscious pattern from long ago. I bet you were snarky at her your whole growing up. Yeah. So you had the mindfulness to be able to say, wow, this isn't the usual Terry. I'm being awful to her.
And we talked about it and you know, resolved.
Good, good. That's good. Let there be peace on earth, let it begin with me. It's gotta begin with your little sister. I'm looking at my big sister. Becca.
Actually, this past summer, I had a similar experience somewhat with I'm the youngest, and quite often throughout my life, I've felt as if I'm told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, what to think, and everything else, and we were getting together to scatter my mom's ashes, my siblings and I, and they were coming here because my mom wanted to be in this area. And I was like, I'm gonna let them decide when they wanna do it, how they wanna do it, and I'm just gonna make sure that I'm there with them and enjoy it. And I was like, I'm not gonna say anything. Well, the time came and everybody looked up and said, okay, where are we going to do this? They're like, we don't know. I was like, okay, I heard about this one place. They were like, oh, okay, we'll do it there. It was like, hold it, you guys just let me make the decision?
It's an attachment.
And it was really, it threw me of the fact that they, for the first time in my life, they hadn't made the plans of what we were gonna do.
And you were holding a space of love. And as holding a space of love is very powerful.
It did, and it worked out beautifully. Everybody was thoroughly ecstatic with the final resting place.
Good, good. So how are you experiencing your spiritual growth today? Darcy, did you have your hand up or were you
Yeah, I
scratching
was
your eye?
going to, but I
Okay,
saw a lot of
so
other
when
hands
Darcy,
up.
Jane, Becca, and then Terry, and
Um,
Margaret.
I was gonna say, say, for the most part, I feel like I'm really happy, very content. I feel like I'm living the lessons here, but I find every once in a while that certain things will trigger me off, and they become surprising when it happens. Because I've let go of so much drama in my life that when it does come up, it kind of rattles my cage a little bit, that I had a reaction like that. It doesn't happen
It's not
today.
comfortable, is it?
It's very uncomfortable. I didn't like the feeling. I was, in some ways, disappointed with myself for having that reaction. And I think, in looking back at my day, there was so much coming at me from all different directions that I just short-circuited and blew a gasket. and I didn't like it. I really didn't like that feeling at all.
So did you bring yourself back to center? Did you stop being upset?
Yeah, I let out a good yell in the car to get rid of my frustrations, and then I decided that I was going to come to class and get right with myself.
Good.
But I find now that when I do have those reactions, my recovery time is so much shorter than it used to be. In the past, I would have agonized over this for weeks and weeks and beat myself up and said, oh my God, what did you do? How could you be like that? Now it's like, okay, it happened, let's clear it and move on.
So you let yourself off the hook, you have a forgiving heart,
Yeah.
and then
a lot
you're
more.
willing to let it go. And that willingness to let go of whatever's holding you back and move forward into a greater spiritual reality is really important. Have you known anyone that holds on to resentment for decades?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be that person. Let it go. Be willing to let it go so that you can have the happiness and joy and peace that is your divine birthright. Good job. Jane.
Just that phone call that I just got, what I'm happy about is that I'm beginning to listen to myself more. And so what I did was I took the call. And what it did was let me off the hook for something on Wednesday. And I'm so thankful that I just thought, this call is not a nuisance or an interference or anything, but it's something good.
Great.
Yeah, and it
Great.
was.
So rather than your usual thing of fumbling around, and because your phone always rings. It does.
It does.
Rather than fumbling around and trying to find it and feeling bad and saying I'm sorry, you just said, oh, I'm just going to take the call. And off you went, you took the call, and that energy, let it be a good thing.
Something good.
Good, 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 good. Becca.
I found that I take my own advice.
Good.
And by that, I mean, I work at the hospital, I'm in patient rooms all day. And I found myself, when I'm leaving the room, a lot of the other housekeepers and everybody, tells people, hope you feel better, get better, I know you'll get better. And I've gotten to where I just look at the patients and look at the family members and I say, be good to yourself. And that's not
That's where I
making,
got that from.
it's not making any judgment as to what they need to do, other than needing to do what's right for them.
So you take something uplifting into very, at times, dire circumstances, and you spread a little light and a little lightness and a little love.
And I've even had, I've had some people that haven't had any sort of vocal response or physical response for hours, days, open their eyes and look at me and say thank you.
Yeah, good, 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 good.
And just be good to yourself.
Yeah. Terry.
What I noticed when I was being snarky with my younger sister, I noticed how it affected everybody who was in the area. And as soon as I reverted back to being nice again, it regenerated the good feelings.
As soon as you came back into alignment with the love that you are,
Yes,
yeah, it affected everyone.
that's right.
Nice has so many societal restrictions on it. that let's just come back into alignment with the love that we are. You choose love over upset, old upset, should have been long gone upset. You choose love and it affected the whole thing. Good for you. Margaret?
I have two areas that are very different for me. The first one is putting myself first and saying no when I feel like saying no. I'm taking a better care of myself, doing things I like to do, and another thing is not trying to fix other people, or not seeing other people as needing to be fixed. I respect that they're on their perfect and right path, doing exactly what they need to do, and I see them as perfect just the way they are,
Wonderful.
and nothing for me to do.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think that spiritual growth is all about how we experience life, but it's also what we bring to the world. Just like you were saying, now what are you gonna do? How are you gonna bring that forward into life? Not to control or manipulate the people around us, but to allow ourselves to have that energy move through us, to be like that hollow bone, and let the energy move through us, to be clear and open instead of foggy and confused and shut down. And I think that sometimes when it's a little bit more difficult than just normal day-to-day stuff, it's good to remember that there is something within us that calls us to be more, to be higher, to be more open, to be more light, to be more love, and that we choose that. And if we forget and go backwards and get all caught up in the muck and mire of it all and try to take it out on people, and then we're, our stomach is upset and we're not happy, then it's our willingness to go back into alignment with who we are as spiritual beings. And I think it's a good thing to always remember that. I always use this class to look at that inside of ourselves and say, what is it that calls you? What is it that draws you? What is it that pushes you? What is it that compels you to be on the spiritual path? Not everybody in the world is on the spiritual path. There are a lot of people who think we're nuts. That we're just wooey and pushovers and peace at any price kind of things. But that there is that within us, I believe, every last one of us, that will put us in a position of choice and strongly encourage us to take the high road. Even if the appearance is that they've done us wrong, that someone took something from us. One of the best days of my life was when I learned that that which is mine cannot be taken from me. And that which is not mine, I cannot keep. So if someone has the appearance that they took it from me, it wasn't mine. No matter how much I wanted it to be mine, how much I thought it was mine, that they could not have taken it if it was mine. It would have belonged to me, it would have been a part of me. That I can't keep it. And that if it's mine, I could leave it in the middle of Manhattan and go back to it, and either it would have found its way to me or it'd be right there waiting for me. And that takes all the pressure off. That if someone I think is doing something to me, then they cannot do something to me. I can create the logical outpicturing of my life, of my consciousness, with their wonderful assistance. But they are giving me a favor by playing that role that I cast them for. And so I think that there is that within us that calls us, and it is a calling me. Jamie Lula sings a song that says, something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. And that calling that we all have, for me, is very good to get to know, to be familiar with it, so that I can trust it, so that I can know that if I let go of this thing, nothing's going to hurt me. That I won't end up lesser because I chose the high road. And even though it may seem different, that only good can come from this, and that this in the end will be a blessing if I'm willing to trust that. Otherwise, we might as well go out into the world and just deal at the level of effect with everything and get mad and frustrated and yelling and all of that. I was with some people who aren't part of this center and marveled and at the hell that some people put themselves through by looking at the world as this thing that's going to hurt them and that they've taken this away from them and they don't have enough of it. It's all terrible and all of that. And I just thought, wow, you're doing that to yourself. You could just as easily live in heaven, which is our natural, rightful state. That we are loved and supported by the entire universe, that all is well, that love is the only reality, that peace and joy are our rightful heritage, and that we are prosperous and wonderful, and that everything is great. We can move into that if we have a forgiving heart and are willing to let go of what we think we're going to get from taking the low road instead of the high road. And I took the low road for a long time. I thought that was my only safety net, that I had to go through life with my dukes up, watching for whatever was going to come out of the blue and being ready for it. You know, always leave them before they leave me, that kind of a thing, whether it was a person or a job or anything. And that is very tiring and frustrating and demoralizing. It's just an awful life. But we have to be willing to say, no, there's something inside of me. I incarnated on planet Earth as a spiritual being, and I'm one of these beings, these light bearers I believe that we are on the planet, raising consciousness by lifting ourselves up and everyone else who will come up with us, that I came to planet Earth to do this, and I have to trust that that is the right thing for me to do, which means I have to stop being petty and negative and vindictive and angry, and that takes a little discipline when you're making that shift. Jane, and then we're going to break.
I am always mislaying my pocketbook, especially in the center, and whenever I see you, you say nothing is ever lost. And you said it so many times, it's beginning to penetrate. And I still have my pocketbook here.
Yay! Yay! Let's take a break. Thank you.
Peace birds. And they're not origami, they're paper quilling. And a friend of mine from Tryon and I got them from her and I give them as gifts. So there's some in the back of the room. If there's none left, if you want one, let me know. I'll get her to make more. And what John had were called peace cranes, and that's origami. And I looked online today, and I think I could learn how to do that if people want to learn how to do that.
That's wonderful. And what is the story about, the ones John had were about Japan? These are different.
Yes, these are different. I don't know the story about the peace cranes.
The organization was started with the tsunami in Japan as a way to do something. I don't know if it was a money generator or just a love sender or what, but they had to do with Japan. And these are birds of peace.
Yes.
So it's a very good time in the world to focus on peace.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Nina.
Very nice.
Okay, turn myself back on. Remember, it's all about me. Are we on, Judith?
We are.
Good. So in this exploration of what is spiritual growth, how is my spiritual growth going? Do I want to grow spiritually more? And what can I do about that? One of the things that Ernest brings up is this idea of divine discontent. What does that mean to you? You love divine discontent.
I do, because
Why?
that's where I am. That it's that feeling of continuing to grow. It's that feeling that I'm not done here. I think if I ever got to that point of I'm done here, it'd be time to transition.
Right. So for me, it's I'm not willing to put up with living the small life. I'm not willing to put up with being the petty Barbara, which I can very easily go into. I'm just not willing to do that. I have a a discontent when I'm there, like Darcy, you say, I don't like this. And Terry, I don't like the way it feels, I don't like myself like this, I know that I can be better, and we want to do that without beating ourselves up and making ourselves wrong, but calling ourselves, oh, come on, let it go, move on. There are much better things waiting for me than this little thing that I'm fighting over. And I look at that as divine discontent. When I look around at my life and go, oh, you're settling, you're putting up with, you're focusing on the negative, you're limiting, you're constricting instead of expanding, and I don't like that, and I'm not willing to put up with it in me. Susan.
Everything you just said, all those words. I had a situation today, I listened to somebody's dilemma. I did not enter their drama, and I would have been pre-resenting, separating, judging, and protecting myself for what I expected would be expected of me, and out of my mouth came, well, think about what needs to be done, let me know how I could help you. I almost looked behind me to see who said that. It came out of my mouth. And I felt so light and so open and so right. I don't mean righteous, but I just felt
Right.
right.
Right, and that's a good point, not righteous, like
No.
righteousness is filled with judgment, but right in that I'm in alignment with who I am and where I want to be.
It was almost like tithing. I don't even know why I'm saying those words, but it's almost that feeling of, I don't know, I just offered who I am and what I am, and it was all sincere. And if you would have asked me 5 minutes or 5 seconds before, would you consider offering this? I don't know that I don't think I would have.
Good, good, good. Darcy?
When I was living a low lifestyle, I found that I had to hide behind my stories a lot because I felt like people would get on to me or they would find out the truth about who I really was. And I don't do that now that I'm living the truth. I feel like I can be open and honest and hey, this is it, you know. I'm not hiding anything anymore like I used to. So it's just a really uplifting, and when you feel the high life and you experience how good it can feel, it makes you want more.
Makes me want.
It makes me want more and
Right.
more and more.
Right.
It makes me want to keep going and see how far I can take this.
Good, 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 good. It's okay to be discontented. It's not a negative thing. It's okay not to just say, well, the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and that's just the way it is, and there's nothing I can do about it, so I'm going to just try to get mine while the getting's good. No, don't do that. It's okay for you to look at the world and go, I can bring something better. And maybe I'll bring it just to this person, or maybe just to this circumstance. But instead of saying that everything is beyond my control, it's okay for you to look at that and say, no, I'm not content with this. I'm not content with the way that I'm experiencing this circumstance. It's not the circumstance's fault. It is my perception of it that I need to clean up and uplift if I'm going to have a better experience. So I love this idea of divine discontent. I love the idea of looking at myself and going, Barbara, you could be a better person right now. You know, you can do this better. Yes, you have time to handle this. No, you're not so overworked that you can't do a good job here. It's like leaving someplace better than when you found it. It's okay to be discontented with yourself when you cop out, fall down and stay there and take the low road. Don't be happy with that. Don't be happy with that. Let yourself challenge yourself and rise up. And if you are discontented with anybody else, understand that that's your own shadow self, that you have suppressed, denied, projected, and then attacked on the outside. You don't see it on the outside unless it's in your consciousness, And if it's in your consciousness, it's a part of you. So if you see it on the outside and you react to it, the time to look inside is now. And so to be discontented with your averageness, you know, to be discontented with your smallness, to be discontented with your fear, I think is a healthy thing, not to beat yourself up over it, but to notice it, and then to have the wherewithal to say, I'm going to be better off if I meditate and do spiritual practice in the morning before I go charging off to work. I'm going to be better off if I take this into prayer or treatment and raise my experience of it before I get it from a doctor's diagnosis. I'm going to be better off if I listen to my intuition here. I'm going to be better off. And so I think that in that realm, divine discontent is very healthy. And I encourage you all to have a little, to challenge yourself, to hold the bar higher for yourself, because you'll rise to it. Hi, Nina.
Hi, Barbara. So, when I started coming here, I never told my story because I didn't get anything from it. Until finally I said, okay, there's a reason I'm not telling it. So I'm hiding way behind it. So it took me all this time to finally look at, why did that SOB leave me? All right? So, well, he wasn't, but he just wanted a wife that stayed at home and cooked his meals and cleaned his house, and that wasn't me. It was when he married me, but I had changed. And I've really changed since I come here. So I had to really look at my story and tell the story to myself a different way.
Good, to be honest with yourself.
That's why I took the year off of practitioner work, to do some soul searching, to be honest with myself.
That's wonderful. What a good use of a year.
It was.
Because then you can look at yourself in the eye and say, I chose this. I sent him away because I wasn't willing to be less than who I am. And I would rather be who I am meant to be without him than be
Yes.
small with him.
Yes,
And that's courage.
exactly.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I forgave him, I sent him an email and told him that. The next month, he was visiting my son, who he hadn't seen in 20 years.
Wow. That's wonderful. Yeah. Good for you. Good. Good. Thank you. Tom.
I have divine discontent with politics right now, and I'm not sure it's so divine.
You know, you have to look at that as the unhealed parts of your own psyche. That we are getting a gift individually and collectively by this acting out. And when we heal that within ourselves, the outer will come into alignment, whether it looks the way we think it's going to look or whether it doesn't. And I think that the psyche of the American population is being played out in full form for us to look at all of the unhealed aspects within us. And it's our job to forgive, to be willing to let it go, to choose the high road, and to know that no matter what happens on the outside, it is our job to find that truth and be honest within ourselves and to heal whatever is up. Otherwise, we're at effect. Is anybody cold?
Yes.
Otherwise, we're at effect of somebody else, and I'm not willing to do that. I am my own captain of my ship. And if anybody pushes my button, they may have pushed it, but they didn't put it there. I'm the one who put the button right here. And somebody goes, that's not them, that's me. It's me to heal the button. To know that no matter, it doesn't matter who is in the White House. It matters who is in our house. And if we move into a higher spiritual awareness, our country will move with us because we are not separate and we are not alone. We are all, 300 million of us, going through this together. And so to take the high road, to choose love over fear, to trust and have faith is what will bring about the heaven on earth that we are all seeking. And there are no victims, there are only volunteers. So in our spiritual growth, Ernest says we have 3 different areas. We have our physical body, we have our intellects, we have our emotion, and we have our intellect. How do you experience spiritual growth in your physical body?
Healing.
Healing, wellness.
Physical healings,
A lot
wellness,
of energy.
a lot of energy. Have you ever found that you needed to do some forgiveness work about your physical body?
Oh,
Yes.
Have you ever done some forgiveness work and had your body respond? Have you ever done some resentment and anger and had your body respond?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if we want to spiritually grow in our body, I think the first thing to do is to put a lot of love in our relationship with our body. Jane, if you want me to call on you, you're gonna have to do something than just lift your fingers.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like you to call on me.
Okay, thank you.
I swim at the Y, and I have memories of being a really good swimmer 20 years ago. I am really a terrible swimmer right now. I just plots it on and on. But, so what I've tried to do is to forgive myself for not being as good as I was several years ago.
How many years?
Oh, quite a few years.
Yeah, so let's be honest.
10.
10. So how many of us could use some self-forgiveness for not being in the physical shape we were 10 years ago?
I see.
And that's a good thing to do. I bought a boat and forgot that my first boat I had when I was in my 20s, my early 20s. That's a whole different world. I'm in my early 60s now. That 40 years made a big difference hopping around on a little boat, bouncing around in the water.
Yeah.
So put a lot of love in your relationship with your body. Remember, one of the things that I ask you to do, Jennifer and Catherine, is to find a place where you can see yourself totally naked. I like to put a full-length mirror in the bathroom. When I come out of the shower, there I am. And to appreciate your body, to love your body, to give your body some kudos, not, oh God, that is terrible, terrible. No, 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 no. Thank you. Thank you, legs, for carrying me around. Thank you, back, for being able to stand up straight. Thank you, arms and hands, for being able to move in the world. Thank you, belly, for digesting my food and keeping my core upright. Thank you for that. Thank you, face, for smiling. You know, if you start looking at yourself with positive reinforcement instead of negative reinforcement, your body will respond. And every time you criticize your physical appearance or state, then your body goes, oh, I'm supposed to be that.
Yeah.
And then it becomes that. So on a physical level, we want to love our body, we want to appreciate our body. By all means, talk to your body, tell it what a great job it's doing, and watch that go into you even at a cellular level. And you will find that you will have more light coming out of you, more energy coming out of you. You will move through the world more, just more, whatever it is, more. How can you spiritually grow your emotions?
By loving ourselves more?
By loving yourself more, you can use your emotions to love yourself. Betty?
I was just gonna say is acknowledging your emotions and trying to deal with them rather than being reactionary.
So you could do a little exploration rather than just reacting?
Yeah,
You
why
could
am
look
I
at-
feeling this way? What triggered me? Why
Okay.
is there a trigger there? What do I need to do to shift that?
Great, what do I need to do to shift that? So don't make yourself wrong, but go, wow, where did that 2-year-old come from? What is the belief that fed that? And how do I need to shift the way I see myself so that I can shift that energy? Excellent. Margaret?
By choosing your emotions.
Choose, you know, I've had people
Yes.
leave this center under the idea that you can choose your emotions.
Choose your emotions.
Yes, telling me why they have no control over their emotions, they just
Yes,
feel
you
what
do.
they feel. And that's simply because we haven't practiced it. We don't practice feeling what we want to feel.
And you're always at choice.
And we are always at choice, yes, say, I am always
I
at
am
choice.
always at
always
choice.
at
Thank you, Jane. And then
And also not to criticize myself.
not to criticize anybody.
Well, especially myself when I'm swimming.
You're swimming, Jane.
Yeah, really,
Jane, you go to the Y and you swim.
Yeah, but
That's
but see,
wonderful.
I used to be a really good swimmer.
And you used to here be hardly hobbling around. And now you're swimming.
I'm trying.
You're doing, are you getting from one end of the pool to the other without drowning?
More or less, yeah.
Did you drown?
And I haven't drowned yet. but-
Then you're swimming. That's the definition of swimming. Moving
haven't
out of
drowned.
water and not drowning.
Well, the lifeguard is always on alert when
And you should always be so loved and cared about.
That's right.
Troy.
I was thinking about the emotions, and for me, it's easier or more effective if instead of going back and dredging up every little tiny detail and addressing it and trying to get a handle on why did I do, I can't do this. It's just a headache. But if I say, what do I want to be? How do I want to act, and how can I make this happen? And is there somebody or something I can use just temporarily to get me going to emulate as a model? I find out that that's a more direct route for me.
Good, good. So you're creating the sense of a person that you want to emulate, and then you're emulating it. That's called fake it till you make it.
Take it till you make it.
Yeah, fake it till you make it. Choose what you want to feel. The thing about criticizing, if you want to up-level spiritually your emotional state, stop using low-level emotions. Stop coping with your circumstances with anger and aggression and upset. Stop finding fault. People can look at 100 great things and one thing that isn't exactly the way they want it, and they'll zero in on that one thing. So look at the positive. Look at the bright side of life. Choose to feel happy. We have people leave here all the time because they are not comfortable with the level of joy that is going on here, because you gotta get used to it if you're not used to that. If you're used to just being out in the world where it's dog eat dog and competitive universe and horn honking and yelling and all of that stuff, and then you come into a place that goes, everything is fine. You're created out of love. Love is the only reality. Isn't life wonderful? It takes a little getting used to that. So practice getting used to that. Breezy.
I've also found kind of, when you're thinking, a lot of people, when you're thinking about other people, you feel bad for things, people or situations or whatever, it's actually, you're judging.
You are, and many people think that they show compassion by jumping into someone else's feelings. People think that showing sympathy is going to help someone, and it's not. Jumping in the mud with someone doesn't get them clean. Saying, wow, when you figure it out, let me know if there's some way that I can help. Bye. You're offering something, but you're not jumping in there with them. That's a good idea. So sometimes people think that they will not be thought of highly if they are not emoting a certain way. It's like if you're in the hospital and or when hospice was a new thing and people would be at home in hospice care, one of their big complaints is that everyone acts like I'm dying. I'm not dead yet. There's no lights on, there's no music playing, the kids are not running in the house, I'm not dead yet. But everybody thinks, oh, I have to be all morbid and somber. No. Be true to the way that you're feeling, and if there's something to look at, like Betty said, then look at it, see where that's coming from, do a little self-analysis on yourself, and see what you need to do to flip that, to shift it, so that you are experiencing the way that you want. But there are certain things that you can, with discipline, train yourself not to do. That's why the 30-day no complaining challenge is so valuable.
So
To
different.
not complain about anything for 30 days. And if you do, don't beat yourself up, just start all over again. And what you're doing is you're training yourself to catch yourself before the complaints come out. And then you're left with, oh, what am I gonna do now if I'm not complaining? Oh, I'll have to focus on something else. And so you detangle those those neurotendrils in your brain, and you hang in there while they're flapping around looking for something else to connect with, and you teach them to connect with something positive, and then they regrow, and then you're solid in it. You're not a complainer, you're not the person who's negative like you used to be, you default to the positive. And that is worth your weight, that's worth lots of 30 days of practicing not complaining. Linda?
Kind of lightly on the same subject, because I used to take care of ALS patients who didn't have, you know, a bright, shiny possibility in the future necessarily. And one of them just said he lived life one mocha at a time, and that's what was on the programs when he passed.
One what at a time?
Mocha.
Mocha.
He would go down and have a mocha in the coffee shop and talk to the people every single day until he wasn't anymore,
Right.
period.
Right. One way to train yourself to keep your emotions on the spiritual path is to see the best in people. And sometimes that takes a bit of doing, because some people are not seeing the best in themselves, keeping in mind that that's simply a reflection of you. Find something good. Find something good in everybody. My Practitioner 1 class came in one night in the beginning of all of the debates, and somebody had some random comment about one of the presidential candidates. And I said, I mean, just a generic one, like they're crazy or something. I think it was more explicative than that. But I said, oh, what about their platform do you disagree with? Oh, I don't know anything about their platform. So I gave everybody in the class the assignment to find one thing that they agreed with. I think at that time there were like 17 Republican candidates and 2 Democratic candidates, to find one thing that you agreed with in the platform of everybody. And they came back the next week transformed. One of them said, I had no idea that Ted Cruz didn't believe in whatever the standardized education was. Core curriculum. And I don't believe in it. I think we should teach children where they are and stop trying to pound them all into the same place. And each and every one of them had something positive about every one of those people, and it changed them. It didn't change any of the presidential candidates. It changed them. So don't take the lazy way of seeing the worst in people. Challenge yourself. Find something wonderful in everybody. And when you do that, you will live in a world filled with wonderful people. Betty.
I was just gonna say, in the last presidential debate, one of the newscasters asked that question.
Right, what do you like about each other?
I thought
Yeah.
that was the
And they
greatest
changed.
question.
Yeah,
They
they
changed.
changed right there, yeah. So how can you grow spiritually at the level of your intellect? Why did you smile, April?
Because I'm constantly growing there.
Because you're doing what?
Because I'm reading.
Because you're reading,
Because I'm writing.
You're writing.
Because I'm meditating on what I'm reading and writing, and then doing more reading and
and you
writing.
come to classes,
Yes.
you put yourself in an environment where limited beliefs and thoughts will be challenged with something greater. Good for you. Margaret, Troy,
A deeper understanding of exactly how powerful and magnificent I
yes, yes, yes. By using your intellect to reinforce your true spiritual nature. Wonderful, wonderful. Troy?
With me, it's not really about the intellect much at all. I've read more books. I can't even describe how many books I've read. It's all I do, it's all I've done in my life. And after a while, it's not about garbage in, it's about opening the heart.
And yet you are a big fan of mindfulness.
Yeah.
What aspect of you is in charge of mindfulness? What notices? It's the intellect.
I guess it is.
You have elevated the use of your intellect to where you don't need more books, you don't need more information, but you use your intellect to notice. You notice where you are, you notice what's going on, you notice how you're being. And for me, that's an intellectual aspect of yourself that's very spiritual and it's very helpful. Does that make sense to you? Does that work for you? Because I put that word in your mouth.
Yeah, it does, it's all connected.
Good, good, good. Morgan?
So my question would be, how are your intellect and your emotions, like, it seems like for myself, my intellect sometimes makes judgments. So,
Well, stop it. Practice not doing that. If you find that you've moved into judgment, notice it, think about it, and find a way to move back into, because judgment is separation, find a way to move back into that connection. If you're judging someone, you gotta find something positive about them to get yourself out of there.
right.
If you think that someone has hurt you, you've got to be honest with yourself and go, no, I chose that. I did that because I wasn't willing to do the other. So just be honest with yourself.
So is using your intellect like being like Mr. Spock, where you're just like logical, like just observing something?
Well, I would say you are observing something, but I'm not sure it puts you in the realm of Spock because you also have your emotions
Right.
and the physical nature of life. But who stops and thinks about the emotions while you're emoting?
Oh, the intellect.
Yeah, yeah. That's why it's so important to develop a sense of awareness. Don't just go on automatic, not unless you absolutely adore everything that's happened while you are on automatic. You know, once you really get it to where you're defaulting to positivity and love and prosperity and health and wholeness and joy, then you can let go of the mindfulness. You can just ride it out, ride on the sea of bliss, that's great. But if you're experiencing something that is less than wonderful, notice it. Like Betty said, back it up a little bit. What happened? Where did I go off course of where I want to be? And how can I get back on course? We just pay a high price when we indulge in separation. And if someone, well, they did it to me first, so what? We live in an abundant universe where there's more than enough for all. We can afford to be generous. We can afford to be compassionate. We can afford to be benevolent because there's more than enough for all, and whatever we give out, we get back. So, see the best in people. See the best in all circumstances. Put a blessing in it, and you'll get a blessing out of it. Put a curse in it, and you're going to get a curse out of it because you are the one creating it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what are some other activities that you can do to keep yourself at the level that you want to be? Nina.
Surround yourself with like-minded people.
Surround yourself with like-minded people, yes, yes. I mean, there are plenty of people that this is just too much trouble to come to a place like this. It doesn't have to be this place. But to come to a place like this is just too much trouble. So you can discipline yourself to put yourself in an environment that's going to help you. What else can you do, Margaret?
Gratitude.
You can do gratitude.
Several times a day.
Yes.
Yeah, remind yourself of all the good things in your life, all the wonderful things that are surrounding you.
And what happens if you have something that doesn't look good and wonderful and you are grateful for it?
In advance of something that you want to change it into.
How many people have held on to things that were not good and not wonderful? And how many of you have found a place where you could be grateful for that circumstance? Yeah. Gratitude is magical.
Yeah.
If you go through life feeling like you have been victimized and that you're helpless, then you have no power. But if you can look at that and say, you know, I'm grateful for husband number 1. I'm grateful for husband number 2. I'm grateful for that guy that I lived with. I'm grateful for them all being the way that they were, that put me in a position of having to look at myself and say, I am not willing to put up with this in my life. I would rather go out into the dark of night and not know where I was going to live, where I was going to sleep, what was going to happen, than continue to live that way. Thank you. Because if you were a little bit nicer, I might have stayed. But thank you for helping me find the life that I needed to live. If you can take gratitude and yeah, this is great, be grateful for all the wonderful things, and all the good things, and all the joy-filled things, but also be grateful for everything that we have labeled with our judgment, not so much. Find some good in it. Be honest with yourself. Be grateful for it. You will find that the amount of power that you feel in being able to create your life the way you want it is magnified in an exponential way. Who else had their hand up? What other practices can you have to help facilitate your spiritual growth? Troy.
Well, as I've retired this past year, I'm looking at volunteering.
Giving is huge. And I appreciate you.
Well, you started me, but I'm going to go and I volunteer at the Canton Homeless Kitchen.
Wonderful. Yay. And as you see the people there that have been labeled homeless, see them in the best light that you can.
Oh, I'm going to treat them like kings and queens.
They've got freedom going on.
Yeah.
My hat's off to them. They chose freedom over security, and I think that's a high spiritual choice. Yeah, good. Becca.
Share
Share what?
yourself.
Share yourself. Put yourself out there. Tell people what's in your heart. Be nice to yourself. Be good to yourself. Bring a little light into the world. Wonderful.
Do some of the things that you really enjoy doing, the things that make you feel good when you do them.
Good.
Like singing, or listening to great music, or cooking, or working out in the yard, just whatever makes you feel good.
Say yes instead of no.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. What else? What can you do?
Celebrate
You can celebrate.
everything.
I flipped into music. Celebrate another day of living, another day of life. Sure, you can celebrate. Yes. Jane,
Don't criticize yourself.
good for you. Be nice to yourself. Love yourself. You're still going strong. Good for you. Yeah. How about trusting more?
Oh, yeah.
Trust.
I'm reminded of, I think, was it that Eddie Murphy movie where the little Buddha, where he had to do something, there was some movie.
Oh, the
some-
Golden
Yes.
Child?
The golden child, he had to step out, and he thought he was gonna step out into this big cavern and fall, and instead, as soon as he stepped out, the glass pillar lit up, and there it was. And to be able to be willing to trust, and then to get that everything's okay. Everything's okay, the worst thing that could happen is we die. And Abraham says if we knew what it was like on the other side, we'd all go jump off the cliff. You know, everything is fine. Everything is always fine. It always will be fine. Trust. Have a little trust. Have a little faith. Relax. Take a deep breath. Let it go. Open up your heart. Let yourself and everybody else off the hook. Forgive a little bit. And watch how, you know, in a vibrational analysis, watch how as you let go of those heavier, denser vibrations of lower emotions, beliefs, and experiences, your whole being starts to vibrate at a higher level. A level higher of light, and love, and joy, and that attracts to you, if you want to use the law of attraction, circumstances in alignment with that. or it opens you up because now you are clean and clear to allow that greater level of livingness to come through you. However you want to think about how it works. I don't think any of us, even quantum physics, really gets how it works, so you can make it up any way you want.
Just
Darcy.
notice when I'm in the flow really well and feeling good about things, colors seem brighter and experiences feel more fun, and it's just everything seems so much nicer when I'm in the flow. It's just hard, when you're in the flow and you're feeling good, it's hard to find fault with anything. It's just that feeling of, wow, this is great, I'm loving this.
And I believe that that does the world a lot of good. I believe that the Dalai Lama's joy has done the world a lot of
Yeah.
good.
Definitely.
And that when we bring joy into our experience, that it cannot help but taint everybody on the planet, because we are all one. Good. So your job is to practice these things and to be aware of how you are doing on your spiritual growth. Not to beat yourself up, not to hurt yourself. You know, when I was younger, I thought that the only way to be spiritual was to fast and to be rigid in what I did with my body and how I held myself. But I did it with such judgment on everybody else that I'm sure it didn't do me any good at all. And so I'm a big fan of lightening up, loving ourselves, letting everybody off the hook, opening up our hearts, starting all over again, like the Etch-a-Sketch or that little paper you used to pull up. Erase it all, start all over again. Again, open up your heart and move forward and watch how life just gets better and better and better. Jane.
And don't judge yourself,
And don't judge yourself, because you're a pretty good person there. Anything else before we close? Good. See, we can do this without any guilt or condemnation or criticism. It's just trusting that we are knowing what to do and how to handle ourselves, and that we have that within us to do what is best for ourselves. And if it's the best for ourselves, it's going to be the best for everybody else. Okay?
Good. I give thanks for this center every day.
Me too.
It's a good center.
For the lessons, for the people, for the harmony here. I mean, it's priceless. It's priceless.
I think so. And after 22 years, it's really running well, so that the doors can open and people like Catherine and Jennifer can find their way. Jessica or Jennifer?
Jennifer.
Jennifer can find their ways here. You know, and the fact that we're still going to be here in 50 years, 100 years, whether it's in this space or somewhere else, I don't care what the form is, that people will still be able to find their way back to who they are. It really touches me. It just touches me very deeply. So yay.
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 Okay, take out what you're gonna give. This class is offered on a love offering. And those of you watching online, thank you for going to the Donate Now button and donating through PayPal. I'm watching. We have people watch all over the world. It's great. And what I know is that as we give this gift, it is precious and holy, because it carries that spiritual energy that we are. Every time we give anything, that which we are goes with our gift. We are beings of light and beings of love, and so the gift carries that light and love, the joy and peace and happiness that we are, whether we're giving money, whether we're giving a meal, whether we're giving a hug, whether we're giving a hug, whether we're giving a hand, or whether we're giving a chance. I know that that energy that we are travels in this world with our giving. And so I know that God is the source of all supply, that money is the action of spirit in and out of our lives forever on a giving and receiving cycle. I know that as we give, we receive, and so we get ready. We open up our minds to know that God has ways of giving us money that we've never even dreamed of yet. Things are in the works for our prosperity. We open up our hearts to know that each of us deserves to be rich and blessed in this life. And we accept all of the beauty and joy that life has for us. And then we open up our hands and let this gift go, knowing that the universe takes it, multiplies it, and gives it back to us. I know that each one of us comes together this night to make this Center for Spiritual Living Asheville all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is.
Terry, did you talk to Betty and Troy?
So let's
About
hold the
Thursday night?
energy. Let's hold the energy. There we go. Hold the energy. We're master manifestors here, setting forth the energy of creation, open and receptive to all of the good that life has for us. We are not as weak as our weakest link. That is a narrow viewpoint. We are as strong as the strongest one among us, as rich as the richest one ever will be. And I know that we accept the bounty of life, the glory of life, the wonderfulness of life. That we all accept it right here and right now, and that life comes into alignment in physical form with that which we know to be true. So what I know is that we are all rich, we are all blessed, we are wealth, we are abundance, we are joy. I know that everything in these baskets is blessed. I see it coming through each and every one of us in our giving as a golden light that fills up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with spirit as us. It touches us, it blesses us, it heals us, it awakens us. And then off it goes to surround this planet, to touch, to bless, to heal, and awaken every being that calls this earth home. I know that that energy is always here and always now, touching every one of us here tonight, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone, thousands yet to come. And so it is.
So it is.
I love you guys. I'm speaking on Sunday. I'll see you then.